studios of WDBO in sunny Orlando, Florida, here's talk radio host Joe Kelly's Behind the News podcast, where Joe and his listeners and guests discuss the most important issues of the day, plus the crazy and bizarre stories of the infamous Florida man. Here's Joe Kelly.
Well, I'm not going to lie to you. I had filed my taxes like 2 months ago, but my teenage daughter asked me to help her file her taxes, and she's only had a couple of part-time jobs. It's the easiest tax return ever to do. And as I'm talking to you now, I'm finishing up her tax return, and I know if I stop right now, then it's going to log me out of my TurboTax account, and then there'll be all kinds of problems. So can y'all just bear with me for about 20 minutes here while I finish my daughter's taxes? Randy, you talk for a while. Randy's going to take over for the next 20 minutes. Randy, I trust you've prepared some sort of content or something for tonight.
Oh, of course.
You're ready to go? Okay.
This is my moment. I've been waiting for it.
All right. Would you rather me do it?
If you insist.
Okay. So I wanted to start something. Well, I wanted to start with something that's gruesome. It's gruesome, and I hate it. And I meant to play it last night, and I just didn't. I ran out of time last night to play this, and I hate this, and this really bothers me. I am one of the few people on earth that loves snakes. I think snakes get a bad name. I think snakes get a bad name, frankly, in large part due to the Bible. I mean, from early biblical days, we have been taught to not trust snakes, right? Don't trust snakes, don't like snakes. I, on the other hand, love snakes. We have a little black racer that lives out in the hedge, the shrubbery, if you will, out here in front of WDBO. And every day when I walk into work, I walk past the shrubbery with an eye peeled for the snake. And I usually have my phone out because I want to be able to capture a video if I see the snake. I've seen it, 6 or 7 times, and probably 6 or 7 times this year. Even it's a pretty active snake out there. Long time ago, I owned a snake. I had a Burmese python that grew to a little over 10 feet, 11 feet long. It got way too big for me to handle, and I ultimately donated it. I found it a home. I rehomed it, and I found it at a home at the zoo. In this particular case, it was the New Orleans Zoo. I was living in Texas at the time, and so I had to drive to New Orleans. I convinced them over the phone to take my Burmese python, and I drove from Texas to New Orleans, Louisiana, to the zoo there, just to donate my Burmese python to the zoo's collection. So I love snakes. I love exotic snakes. I subscribe to all the Facebook snake groups. I know the 4 venomous snakes that we have in Central Florida. I know the 6 venomous snakes that we have statewide in Florida, but the 4 in particular that we have here in Central Florida. I love snakes, and I'm going to get to why I'm talking about snakes. Well, I'd like to point out that I would like to thank Paul Cross for doing traffic long enough that I was able to finish my daughter's taxes. So it's all done, sent, processed. So Randy, you're officially off the hook now. So here's the deal. Here's what happened. And this happened here in Florida. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission officers last Thursday killed more than 30 snakes. These were captive snakes. These weren't snakes that were wild out in the Everglades. These weren't snakes they weren't out in the wild. They were all captive snakes held in terrariums. And at one point, and it was all caught on video. They recorded the whole thing on video. And at one point in the video, the officers, they are unrelenting in killing these snakes. And some of these snakes are huge. They're 10, 12-foot snakes. They're really, really big snakes. I don't think a single one of them was venomous. I think they were all non-venomous snakes like boas and pythons. And the officers killed one of the snakes. And in the video, you can see instantly that the FWC officers realized that they'd killed the wrong snake. In fact, they had killed a snake that the handlers specifically said, don't kill this snake because it's pregnant. And it has a lot of babies. Evidently, Burmese pythons or whatever, they carry a lot of babies. 32 babies, to be exact. So they let me explain why they were killing these snakes. So the owner of the snakes is a guy named Chris Coffey, and he had a permit to keep them prior to the state labeling Burmese and reticulated pythons as prohibited species back in February of 2021. See, it used to be legal in the state of Florida to have pythons and reticulated pythons and other kinds of snakes until people started releasing them into the Everglades. And then it became a major problem because they're invasive species. They are non-native species, and they're throwing off the ecosystem. So after the rule change, the Florida Wildlife Commission gave him 5 months to find homes for all 120 of his now prohibited reptiles. So all of his snakes were pythons of some sort. There's ball pythons, reticulated pythons, Burmese pythons. So this dude that owned the snakes, Coffey, was able to get rid of most of the snakes, but he still had about 40 left by the time the deadline was up. So FWC... So that he could remain on good terms with FWC, Coffey notified the FWC in good faith about a year ago, saying he was having difficulties rehoming some of the snakes. He had about 40 snakes that he was not able to find homes for. And I can tell you, as a guy who used to own a giant snake, finding a home for a giant snake is very difficult to do, particularly when they're outlawed in the entire state of Florida. So nobody in Florida could take his snakes off his hands. So the FWC showed up unannounced and started killing his snakes. They just started killing them. And he tried to make it clear that at least one of the snakes did not violate the law and that one of the snakes should not be killed, and it was the pregnant snake. Yet they killed the pregnant snake anyway. Coming up after this, I'm going to play for you what I know is gruesome audio. The audio is not going to sound gruesome, but I know what happens in the video, and the video is gruesome. I'm going to play it for you coming up next. You'll want to stick around and hear this, and then I'll tell you where you can see the video if you want to see the video of the snakes being systematically killed by the Florida Wildlife Commission agents. We'll have it for you coming up next. Stay there. All right, coming up, I got some audio that you have got to hear, and I'm reasonably certain you have not heard it yet. So the bank shooting in Louisville, Kentucky this week that left 5 people dead. We have got the 911 calls now that have been made, including the shooter's mother. The shooter's mother called 911 once she found out that her son might be involved in some sort of shooting incident. I've got that audio. You're going to hear it coming up in a few minutes. But first, I want you to hear the snake aside, if you will, as agents from the Florida Wildlife Commission kill some 30-plus snakes, including a snake they weren't supposed to kill. One of the snakes that they killed was pregnant with 34. Hang on, with what number did I say earlier? I've already forgotten. This snake was pregnant with a whole bunch of other baby snakes. And it's 32 babies. I'm sorry. So it's 32. It was a boa with 32 babies that sell for $4,000 each. Holy smokes, I am in the wrong business. I should be in the boa business, evidently. But listen, and you'll hear it's bleeped. And then there is a banging sound. Did you guys ever see the movie No Country for Old Men? No Country for Old Men was a very troubling movie about an assassin that goes around killing people. But the tool that he uses to kill people is like a little cattle prod type thing. It's a little device that looks like the hilt of a lightsaber, but it shoots out a steel peg, that's about 3 or 4 inches long. And that's how, in No Country for Old Men, spoiler alert, that's how this guy kills everybody. He just puts it up to their temple and bam, and it just kills them. Well, this is the same or very similar device that they use to kill all of these snakes. Now, take a listen. The man screaming in the background is the guy that owns the snakes, and he is apoplectic about having these Florida wildlife agents killing his prized snake.
Oh my God, that guy's gonna flip out. What is wrong with you guys?
Yeah.
Who did it?
We're
Is there
I don't know if you can hear it. The agents are saying, we're shaken just like
a
you.
way to maybe save the babies? Oh no, dude. This guy's gonna go bananas. Oh my God. Why? It was a mistake.
It was a mistake.
Why did you take time? You can't fix it. You can't fix it. What just happened?
Yeah, the Florida wildlife agent said, we can fix this.
You can get fixed. You can't fix it. You just killed something that wasn't illegal, and it had about $100,000 worth of babies.
So that bang sounds like a staple gun. That's not a staple gun. That's every snake they're killing. That is a compilation of all the snakes they killed. And that's not all of them. That's not. I figured that would be enough for you guys. I don't think you need to hear, 34 snakes being killed there. And at this point, there's a reptile organization that is asking. It's the United States Association of Reptile Keepers, and they're asking everyone to call Governor DeSantis to complain so that something can be done to punish those FWC officers. If you want to see the full video, I just put it up on our Facebook page. I know it was on our Facebook page, I believe, yesterday, but I just put it back up so that you can see the video if you want to see it for yourself. And it is, I know a lot of you guys hate snakes. And I guess if you hate snakes, that's not troubling for you to see all these snakes getting killed for just being snakes in the wrong place at the wrong time. I'm troubled by it because I have an affection for snakes. I like snakes. I think they're cool animals, and cool reptiles. And I love to catch them. I love to see them. I love to find them in the wild. I know which snakes to stay away from. But if you have thoughts on the slaughter of all these snakes, and they're just throwing them in garbage cans, I don't know if they're going to make boots out of them or eat them or whatever the case may be. It looks like they were just throwing them away. 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. You can use the open mic in the WDBO app. And again, coming up in a minute, you're going to hear the 911 phone call from the mother of the shooter in Louisville, Kentucky, as she called 911 pleading with the dispatcher to do something about her son. She's also entirely ignorant about her son even having a weapon. Jeremy Renner, speaking about gruesome things, the actor Jeremy Renner, he was on Jimmy Kimmel on Monday night, and he told the story about getting run over by the snowplow that happened up near Lake Tahoe. And he's making a great recovery. But one of the things that I had heard early on was that one of Jeremy Renner's eyeballs popped out. And I don't know how this would work with your brain. I don't know how your brain interprets these signals. But he said that he was able to see one eye with his other eye. Well, he confirmed on Jimmy Kimmel that one of his eyes did, in fact, pop out. I wonder, I can't even imagine laying there in the snow, covered in blood, 34 broken bones, a punctured lung, a lacerated liver, and your brain is showing you an image of one eyeball looking at the other eyeball. That's got to be pretty freaky, right? That would really freak me out, for sure. Thank God Jeremy Renner is doing better now and may make a full recovery. Bubba the welder in Ocoee is joining us now here on WDBO. He's calling 844-580-WDBO. Hello, Bubba.
Hey, Joe, best show on the radio, by the way.
Thank you, ma'am.
Snake story. I had a friend 30 years ago. I was in a different state, California, sorry to say. And he had a mating pair of pythons. She was about 13 feet long, and he was about 9. And we used to take these snakes to all the little groups, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Cub Scouts, church groups, elementary schools. And it took 3 of us to hold her.
I bet.
She was 13. She was 13 feet long.
Yeah.
And all the little kids, some of them would come up and touch the snake, and then some of them, oh, no, I'm not touching that, just like you said, bud.
So yeah, some people are inherently afraid of snakes, and again, I don't want to blame the Bible. I'm not going to blame God here, but I think I am blaming God here because it's the Bible that I think has caused a lot of people to be afraid of snakes, to be sure. And I will tell you that in about 5 years or so that I owned that python, I only got bit twice, and both times I got bit was technically preventable. My fault. I was feeding him a rat. Both times in feeding him, and he mistook my hand for the rat. I started using tongs shortly after that to feed the rats. My name is Joe Kelly. Coming up next, you're going to hear the 911 call of the mom of the shooter in Louisville, Kentucky. Stay right there.
Whoa, I'm sitting here listening to this story about the snakes, and I'm sitting here thinking that that's awful that they killed all these snakes, but then I'm also thinking, what should they have done? They have 40 gigantic illegal snakes. And what should they have done with these snakes? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't have a definitive answer of what they should have done either, other than there wasn't an immediate need to go kill them. Because this guy was a responsible reptile owner. Yes, they're illegal. He was given an amount of time to get rid of them. He had 120 of these reptiles, and he got rid of all but almost 40. And he couldn't get rid of the last 40. He said he needed more time. That's why he contacted the Florida Wildlife Commission. The Florida Wildlife Commission, I don't know, they should have granted him more time, or at the very least, you'd think that the guy could have been able to, to sell those to, and I mean this seriously, bootmakers, because the skins of many of those snakes can be very profitable when making, some cowboy boots or belts or hat bands, all things that I would never wear in my life just because I don't wear cowboy boots. I'm too tall and skinny for cowboy boots. But I got to tell you the funniest story of when I owned a Burmese python. Again, it was about 10 to 11 feet long. It was given to me by a guy who needed to get rid of it. Anybody who has a snake at one point is going to have to get rid of it. And a buddy of mine, when I lived in Albuquerque, New Mexico, a buddy was being transferred. He's like, dude, you got to help me take this snake off my hands. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's fine. At the time I wasn't married. I didn't have kids. And I'm like, that's fine. I'll take a giant Burmese python and a giant terrarium that was in my apartment. But so I got bit twice, and the second time it bit me was the funnier of the two times, because I had just moved from Albuquerque, New Mexico to San Antonio, Texas, and I was staying in a hotel, one of those long-term hotels, and I was staying in this hotel, and I had to feed the snake, and it would only eat live animals. It would not. Some snakes will eat dead animals. Mine would not. Mine would only eat live animals. And generally, rats were the best thing because they were the cheapest. And I'm not going to go feed him expensive, animals when I can buy rats for next to nothing. And as I attempted to drop the rat into the tank to feed the snake got overly aggressive and he lunged. These snakes move so slow until it's eating time. When it's eating time, they move so fast, lightning fast. And he bit me. He missed the rat that I was holding, and he bit my hand. I don't know what you call this. What's the fleshy spot between your thumb and your index finger? Whatever that fleshy spot is between the thumb and the index finger is where he bit me. And he bit and he grabs on. He doesn't just bite and let go. He bites, and then human instinct, when you get bit by a snake, what do you do? I mean, if you get bit by anything, what do? You pull your arm back, right? So as I pulled my arm back, I literally pulled him out of the terrarium, and he started instantly, before I could even think of what just happened, he started instantly coiling himself around my arm. It's a constrictor. That's what they do, is they constrict. So he automatically saw me as food, and he started constricting my arm. And this is where the funny thing happened. I'm sitting here panicking. I'm starting to bleed. Those kinds of snakes have an anticoagulant in their saliva, so it causes you to bleed. And so I'm bleeding on the hotel carpet floor, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, I hear this. There's a knock at my door, and I'm like, no, I can't answer the door now. And and I hear, housekeeping, housekeeping. And I know that if I don't do something, they're going to let themselves in while I've got a snake wrapped around my arm. And I didn't want the cleaning lady to, so I'm like, now's not a good time. And I can only imagine, what the cleaning lady thought I was doing to say in a nervous voice, no, don't come in. Don't come in right now. And I could not get the snake to release its bite on my hand. I knew it wasn't going to kill me, right? Because I knew it wasn't a venomous snake and I knew it wasn't going to kill me. But the only way I could get the snake to release its bite, I finally had a brainstorm, if you will. And I thought, I'm going to go over to the sink and I'm going to run water. I'm going to run water into its mouth because it had its mouth open because it was biting onto me. So I just kind of positioned my hand under the sink where the water would run into the snake's mouth, and he instantly released his bite. And then I was instantly able to, imagine a bracelet on your arm. I was able to push him off of my arm like a bracelet, and he hit the floor. This as the rat is running around the hotel room. So there's a rat running around a hotel room, and the snake just got off of my arm. I'm bleeding all over the vanity there, the bathroom countertop, and I was worried about a cleaning lady coming in. So now I had to recover both the snake and the rat and get them back. Oh, I was going to say it's a long story, but no, I just told the whole story. So that's it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So this one time I had to take my Burmese python to the veterinarian because I noticed that there were little bugs crawling in and out of the scales of the python. It was gross. So it was, first of all, it was hard to find a veterinarian that would take a Burmese python. And when I finally was able to do that, do you know how hard it is to get a 10-foot, 11-foot Burmese python into your car and to the vet? I grabbed a pillowcase. I just stuffed him in a pillowcase, and I'm sitting there in the waiting room at the veterinarian's office with a 11-foot Burmese python in a pillowcase, and I'm sitting next to this little old lady with a little old dog, and she's like, "Oh, what do you have in there?" And I'm like, "You do not. I'm not showing you." And much to my surprise, the veterinarian was able to give a shot to the snake, and whatever that shot was, the bugs instantly vacated that snake. They left straight away. Whatever was in that shot, the bugs did not like that. So I was bitten twice by the snake, but I was bitten once by a rat that I was feeding to the snake. And I will tell you that the rat bite, to me, was much, much, much more disgusting and worse than the snake bite. Either way, I probably should have got a tetanus shot or something after the fact. All right, so Louisville, Kentucky. This is the mother of the shooter calling 911 to report that she suspects her son is up to something terrible.
911, Operator Val's, where is your emergency?
Yes, my son might be. He apparently has a gun and he's heading toward the Old National at on Main Street here in Louisville.
Main Street, Old National?
Yes, and this is his mother. I'm so sorry. I'm getting details secondhand. I'm running through it now. Oh my Lord.
Okay. And what exactly is going on with him? What is he saying he's doing?
I don't know. I'm getting this information from his roommate. He apparently left a note. I think he's on, and I think he's beside. He's just not. Yes, hurry! Shut the door. Lock the door and come here. I don't know what to do. I need your help. I think he's never hurt anyone. He's a really good kid. Please don't come up to him.
Okay. You said he was headed to the Old National thing. Did he say what he was going to do there?
I don't know. I don't know anything. We don't even own guns. I don't know where he would have gotten a gun.
Okay, so where did you get this information from? Who told you what's going on?
His roommate called me. His roommate's very concerned. So this was, I'm sorry. I don't know what I'm doing.
Okay, what's your son's name?
An employee there.
Okay. How old is he? White, black, Hispanic, Asian?
White, about 6'4".
6'4"?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and what was your name, ma'am? What is your name, ma'am? Here's your telephone number.
Obviously, the static is where they bleep out personal information.
I've got your name and your phone number in here, and I'm going to let the officers know that you believe headed to the Old National Bank on Main Street and having... Okay?
That's correct.
Okay.
And please, he's non-violent.
Mm-hmm.
He's never done anything. Please.
Okay. And you don't believe he owns guns?
I know he doesn't own any guns.
Okay. And so did the roommate mention him having any weapons or anything?
I don't know, ma'am. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get into my car. My son's talking to me, and they're asking me questions about other things. And I'm shaking. I think maybe his girlfriend family had done.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe he saw them. I don't know.
Okay. All right.
I don't know what.
Well, have your name and number in here, and if officers have additional questions, they'll give you a call back, but I'm going to let them know, okay?
Oh, okay. So should I? What do I do? Just go there?
No, I don't want you to go to the location, okay? No, I don't want you to go to the location, ma'am. Okay?
We're going to the location.
Right. I don't want you to go to the location. We have a situation that's going on down there right now. We've already had calls from other people, and I do not need you to go to the location at this time, okay? It's dangerous there.
You've had calls from other people, so he's already there?
Yes, at Old National Bank on East Main Street, we have, and I'm advising you not to go to the location because it is an unsafe situation and officers are already at the location, ma'am, okay?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, bye.
Oh, my heart breaks for that mom. I mean, she says, I know my son doesn't have any guns. I mean, and she was going to go down to the bank thinking that she could talk to her son before anything happened, not realizing that it already happened. And that dispatcher was the first to tell her that, well, what she suspects is that her son is involved in a shooting there. Terrible story.